One of the most disturbing stories from a elementary school I've possibly ever heard. I'm a public school kid, man. Some of you guys can tell. Okay. So I am not of the mindset that like public schools are like completely corrupted and they're irredeemable. I think it depends state by state, city by city, district by district, but there's definitely some goofy stuff happening. But this, holy moly, this takes things to a whole nother level. Now, I have friends that work with a nonprofit called Exodus Cry. Exodus Cry is the leading nonprofit in terms of combating the effects of trafficking and corn work, okay? And what happens at this school is beyond me. So we're going to look at it together. Parents protest school after first graders allegedly force girl to perform blank act recorded on iPad. Oof. This is terrible. This is a failure on the schools. This is a failure on the teacher. This is awful. And if you guys wonder why some of us don't rock with public school, this is why. Okay, if you guys wonder why some of us don't rock with teaching kids stuff in public school too early, this is why.
Parents are protesting outside of their kids' school after finding out that a 6-year-old girl was forced to perform sex acts on other boys in the class while the teacher was in the room and while it was being filmed.
How is this possible? How is this possible? How were the teachers in the room? How big is this room? Who else is in this room? And how did the teacher not think to stop this? Or did they not see? Or like,
predators.
What is happening here? This is beyond. This is beyond.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
Darkness.
The incident was only discovered when a teacher's aide found that one of the students' iPads had been locked. She took it to get unlocked, and that's when she found the videos. What's worse is that multiple parents from the school have now come forward saying similar things have been happening. One parent said, "We do everything we can to protect our kids, just to have them go to school and be exposed to stuff they should never have seen."
Homeschooling has entered the chat.
Homeschooling has entered the chat.
This is exactly why. This is exactly why people homeschool.
Apparently, the rates of this stuff happening at public schools is actually higher than you would expect. That this stuff happens at public schools. Like you're like, I want to say 100 times more likely for this to happen at a public school than like a church.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So this is nuts that this stuff is happening. But 6 years old with
6 is crazy.
With a on an iPad, a school iPad by it. Shout out to this teacher's aide who discovered all this and blew the whistle on it.
Yeah.
These children are in first grade, both the perpetrators and the victim. But what could possibly be fueling first graders' abusive behaviors? It's porn.
Sorry, I wonder if that's a book that's actually in the elementary schools right now. Because she pointed to that book. Because you know how there's all the books. I mean, you even covered that one about.
Yeah. I didn't catch the book that it was. I don't know if that was a book they put out or a different book. But yes.
Crazy.
And why would they film it on the school iPad? Because that's how they're used to watching porn. We honestly cannot emphasize enough the devastating effects underage exposure to porn is having on children. These cases are not one-off. Fighting age verification that would protect children from porn, all the while grooming children to brazenly sexually abuse each other in class. We cannot accept sexual violence being normalized amongst children. Sign our petition to require age verification with ID on every site that hosts porn at the link in our bio.
Shout out to Exodus Cry, man. They're doing a good job of exposing some of this stuff, but this is definitely.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
6 years old, doing these acts, but not just doing these acts. This isn't like kids that discover their body parts and want to like talk to other kids about their body parts.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. This is next level. You saw something and decided to reenact it, and not just decided to reenact it, then decided to get video of it.
Yeah, and I mean, and the kids being exposed to that is essentially child SA. Like they shouldn't be exposed to it. So when they are exposed to it, at 6 years old,
Yep.
The question is like, okay, who exposed them? Who gave them access? Who wasn't paying attention? And I know there's all these other sites, whatever. Exodus Cry wants the 18 plus verification.
Sure.
I think that's great. But it's also like, you know, someone said, what's going on at home? I was like, honestly, yeah, but also the fact that like these kids have iPads at the school. I know certain things are restricted, but like there's ways around that. These kids are smart. You know what I'm saying? And that's the place that they're least held accountable.
Yeah. Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here. Yeah. Well, and what makes a Philip DeFranco so infuriating to gaslight people as if we're being unreasonable to say, make this crap as hard as possible for people to get their hands on, make this stuff as hard as possible for children to even come near. And he's like, well, you know, it's you're gonna limit the rights of sexual wellness workers.
Sexual wellness, yeah.
It's like, bro, you don't get it. And then you wonder why, and again, I'm not saying this language is right, but I am saying I understand why people use this language. Then you wonder why people are saying, yo, there's grooming happening.
Oh, yeah.
There's grooming happening. And when there's this sort of stuff happening, you have a right to be upset. Christians have a right to be upset. People of faith have how about just people that don't want their kids exposed to this sort of stuff and want them to develop their relationship to older?
Yeah.
How about, like, you know, when they're in, I don't know, in high school or college, like, I'm not even, like, obviously, as followers of Jesus, we're like, wait until you're married. But, like, I don't think anyone is like, yay, like 6-year-olds.
Be somewhat developed. Because, like, there's an age of accountability, you would almost say, right?
Right.
Where you're like, bro, you have to make good decisions. What are you doing? What are you doing with this? There's also an age that person is almost not accountable for their actions. Like, they're, at 6 years old, reenacting child essay that happened to them via a screen.
Right. Hey, did you know that you can watch videos like this on the Spotify app? We now are on Spotify under Ruslan Bless God Podcast. So if you're driving and you want to go back and forth between listening to the podcast and just the audio or watching the video, consider doing it now on the Spotify app as well as all podcast platforms. All right? I'll see you over there.
And so it's like, yeah. Obviously, we wouldn't want anyone to do any of this stuff until they're married.
Right.
But it's way more destructive. It's going to create actual
trauma. This
actual
is
trauma.
actual trauma.
And these kids are going to have a hard time processing it in their older age.
Yep.
And that's the stuff that's going to cause, like, I'm not saying a majority of this is, but that's going to increase the rates of the LGTV stuff. It's going to go from 25 or 20% of Gen Z to it's going to go to 40% of Gen Z.
Right.
Because when those younger kids really get older and they're processing all this stuff they saw.
Confused.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, L for this school, L for these teachers, this teacher, whoever this was. I think the teacher should be fired. Like, unless this is a freaking 2,000 square foot classroom,
1 to 70 ratio.
Yeah, like this dude should be fired. This is a complete disaster. And so the organization there is called Exodus Cry. Check them out on Instagram. I may be doing some stuff with them in the future. They do some good work in terms of this entire world. Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.